Imagine waking up tomorrow, pouring your coffee, you sit down, open your analytics dashboard, and you realize 50% of your website traffic just vanished overnight.
Just completely gone.
Right, gone. And not because your site broke or, you got hit by some massive search engine penalty, but because your potential customers simply stopped searching for answers and they started having conversations with machines.
Which is, frankly, terrifying if you're not prepared for it.
Oh, absolutely. So welcome to this deep dive. Today, our mission is to unpack this fascinating guide we've been looking at. It outlines what is basically a massive structural revolution in digital visibility.
Yeah, we are moving entirely away from the traditional battleground of SEO, and we're entering the era of GEO.
GEO.
Generative engine optimization. It's a fundamental shift in how human knowledge is discovered, processed, and ultimately served back to the user.
And what blew my mind in the research we're analyzing today is the timeline.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't some distant sci-fi future we're talking about, right?
Not at all. The text predicts a staggering shift. It says by the years 2025 and 2026, over 50% of all digital searches will be conversational.
Wait, over 50%?
Yeah. Half of all inquiries won't be, typed into a search bar just to get a list of blue links. They're going to be dynamic back and forth conversations with an AI.
That is just a wild statistic to wrap your head around. I mean, half. So for you listening to this deep dive, we are going to explore exactly how you stop optimizing for those traditional cheap clicks and start optimizing your digital presence to be the definitive source, the one the AI actually chooses to tell the world about.
Because if the ultimate prize on the internet is no longer a simple click, the new prize is being cited as the absolute most trustworthy, authoritative source by engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Gemini.
Right. So to understand how to win over an AI,
Yeah.
we probably first have to understand the mechanical difference here, right? Between GEO and the SEO we've known for decades.
Yeah, exactly. And it ultimately comes down to the difference between indexing and synthesizing.
Okay. Because, look, if you're listening to this, you likely already know the traditional SEO playbook. You know about building backlinks, keyword density, running technical site audits. It's essentially a matching game.
Yep, a massive matching game.
You make sure your keywords match the user's keywords, and Google acts like this giant library catalog pointing the user to your specific shelf. But GEO throws a wrench in that.
A huge wrench.
Because if SEO is a matching game, GEO sounds like it's actually trying to, comprehend the meaning.
That is the core distinction right there. Traditional SEO is built for algorithms that retrieve. Generative AI, though, is built on large language models, or LLMs, which synthesize.
Right.
These models don't just, fetch a document. They read multiple sources. They understand the semantic context. They compare conflicting pieces of information, and they generate a coherent, natural language answer word by word.
They're looking for credibility and factual density, not just keyword placement. Okay, let's unpack this with a metaphor, because getting that underlying mechanism is super crucial. If traditional search is like looking through a library catalog to find a book, generative AI is like a detective building a case.
Ooh, I like that.
Right. The AI doesn't just want a list of files. They need primary sources, they need alibis from other witnesses, and hard, verifiable evidence to close the file and present their conclusion. Your job is to hand the detective the exact evidence they need, perfectly organized.
The source material actually complements that with a pretty brilliant visualization of its own.
Oh yeah, the bouncer analogy.
Yes. It suggests that SEO is like putting on your best suit and dressing up elegantly just to impress the bouncer at a nightclub, which represents traditional Google.
You're doing whatever it takes just to get past the velvet rope.
Exactly, just to get inside the building.
You're just keyword stuffing your pockets to look the part.
Precisely. But GEO is like being the VIP guest who is already inside the party. You're the person everyone else in the club is talking about and pointing to.
Because you have the best stories and the most reliable data.
Right. You aren't just in the room. You are the reference point for the whole room.
Okay, so does this mean the bouncer is out of a job? If I'm a marketer or an entrepreneur listening to this, and I've spent the last 5 years mastering that SEO playbook.
Should you just throw it all out?
Yeah. Should I toss everything I know about keywords and site speed? Is SEO dead?
That's the immediate panic reaction for a lot of people, but the text is explicitly clear on this. GEO does not bury traditional SEO.
Okay. Yeah.
It actually elevates it. Think about the underlying architecture. An AI cannot cite your content if it cannot find your content in the first place.
Right, that makes sense.
LLMs often use traditional search indices as their foundational database to pull real-time information, well, before they begin synthesizing an answer.
Do they still need the index?
Exactly. SEO gets you into the AI's database.
Phew.
GEO gets you selected for the final synthesized answer. It's really a hybrid strategy.
Got it. So SEO is the ticket into the stadium, but GEO is how you get your face on the Jumbotron.
I love that. Yes.
And we obviously want to be on the Jumbotron. But how do we actually do that? I mean, how do we scientifically prove to this synthesized algorithmic brain that we deserve that VIP status?
Well, this is where the source material moves from, marketing theory into rigorous academic evidence. The text highlights a seminal paper titled GEO, Generative Engine Optimization by Agarwal and colleagues.
And that was presented at the KDD 2024 conference, right?
Yeah, which is a major, highly respected computer science and data mining conference.
Which means this isn't just like a passing buzzword someone made up on LinkedIn.
No, not at all. The researchers actually ran experiments to see what changes in AI's behavior.
And the statistic that jumped out at me from this paper is just massive. They found that by utilizing specific GEA techniques, you can increase your visibility in generative AI responses by up to 40%.
A 40% boost.
Yeah. When you realize that an AI is only going to cite maybe 3 to 5 sources in its entire response, increasing your probability of selection by 40% is, it's the difference between total obscurity and dominating your industry.
And the Agarwal paper breaks that 40% boost down into 4 specific proven methods. We can basically think of them as the 4 pillars of GEO.
Okay, let's go through them. What's the first one?
The first is statistics addition. The AI engines heavily panelize vague qualitative descriptions. So the academic proven method is to swap out qualitative fluff for hard quantitative data.
Okay, let's look at the mechanics of that for a second. Why does the AI care if I say 72% of users versus saying a vast majority of users? Under the hood, why does a number matter more to a machine?
Because we have to remember what an LLM actually is, right? It's a next token prediction engine.
Okay.
It calculates the statistical probability of the next word. Vague phrases like a vast majority are mathematically fuzzy, but hard data points like 72% act as statistical anchors.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. When an LLM processes a hard number, the statistical probability of the surrounding text being factually accurate increases in its vector space. It becomes mathematically safer for the AI to generate a response based on that anchor.
Okay, so hard data anchors the AI's prediction. But what if my industry isn't just about math? Like, what if I'm in consulting or design, where authority is based on expert opinion rather than just spreadsheets?
That leads directly to the second pillar, which is quotation addition. This means actively baking in direct, precise block quotes from highly authoritative sources within your field.
So don't just paraphrase.
Exactly. If you're writing about financial trends, don't just summarize a new regulation. Embed a direct quote from the regulator. The researchers found this significantly reduces the AI's risk of hallucination.
Okay, let's clarify that jargon for a second.
Yeah.
Hallucination, that's when the AI basically confidently lies to you, right?
Yes.
It makes up the fact that sounds completely plausible but is totally wrong. But why does putting quotation marks around a sentence stop a multi-billion-dollar algorithm from lying?
Because quotation marks act as structural boundaries for the AI's generation process. When an LLM detects text bounded by quotes and attributed to a known entity, it recognizes that sequence as a constrained string.
Wait, what does that mean in plain English?
It means it doesn't have to predict what the expert might say. It has the exact mathematical string of what they did say. Its confidence score in the accuracy of that specific passage skyrockets.
Which makes it highly likely to lift that quote and cite your page as the source.
Exactly.
That is fascinating. It's essentially feeding the machine a prepackaged, zero-risk answer. So what's the third pillar?
Cite sources. Providing incredibly clear references and outbound links.
Oh, this is a big change.
Yeah, in the old days of SEO, people sometimes hoarded their authority. They didn't want to link out to other sites because they feared leaking their page rank.
Right, keep everybody on your own site.
But GEO demands the exact opposite. The AI wants to trace the lineage of your claims. If you state a fact, you must link directly to the primary research. You have to show your work.
Which brings us to the fourth pillar, which is authoritative style. And this is entirely about tone, right?
Yeah.
The experiments show that adopting a tone that is persuasive, confident, and reliable actually impacts algorithmic selection. Like, You have to strip out passive voice and remove hedge words like maybe or perhaps or
Yeah.
usually.
When you combine those four pillars, hard statistics, direct quotations, clearly cited sources, and a definitive authoritative tone, you are essentially fulfilling a new standard of digital rigor.
It sounds exactly like the AI is acting like a strict college professor grading a term paper.
Pretty much.
You can't just hand in a paper with a catchy title and a flashy font anymore. You need footnotes, you need primary data, and you have to prove you actually did the reading to get a passing grade from the AI professor.
And if you fail to provide that academic rigor, the AI will simply bypass your site and select the competitor who did.
Right. So knowing the academic theory is great. The Agarwal paper proves the mechanics. But let's bring this down to earth for the listener. How do you actually apply this to your own website or your business today? We need the practical toolkit.
Well, for that, the source material turns to further findings from a 2025 study by Chen and colleagues. This research details exactly what these engines are looking for to establish a brand as a recognized digital entity.
A digital entity.
Yeah, it's no longer just about optimizing an isolated web page. It is about how the AI perceives your entire digital existence. Let's start with the structure of the content itself. It needs to be inherently conversational.
Because the user is chatting with the AI, so the AI prefers sources that are already structured like a conversation.
Yes, you should be using FAQs heavily. Instead of a heading that says product specifications, you frame your subheading as the actual question a human would prompt, like what are the exact dimensions and weight of this product?
So you mirror the prompt response architecture of the LLM itself.
Exactly. Chen's research also emphasizes summarizing your main points right at the top of the page. Give the AI the synthesized takeaway immediately, and then use the rest of the page to provide the deep data.
Okay, what about the technical side? Are there specific technical elements that GEO requires under the hood?
The text specifically highlights the critical importance of schema markup.
Okay, stop right there. Schema markup. I know what it is broadly, but for anyone who isn't a developer, what exactly is happening under the hood when we use schema?
Think of your website as a massive grocery store. Without schema, the AI has to walk down every single aisle, pick up every box, and read the ingredients to figure out what you sell.
Sounds exhausting.
It is computationally expensive. Schema markup is a standardized vocabulary of code. It's like putting giant, universally understood signs above the aisles.
Oh.
The text specifically mentions using FAQ page and how-to schema. When you use this code, you are essentially putting a digital tag on a sentence that says, hey machine, this sentence right here, this is the exact answer to the question above it. It completely removes the AI's burden of guessing.
You were basically spoon-feeding the algorithm.
Exactly. Another massive factor is the freshness factor. The research shows that content that is constantly updated will entirely crush static content in generative search.
So you can't just set it and forget it.
No, you cannot publish a comprehensive guide in 2023 and just let it sit there. You need to revisit it, update the statistics, add new context, and signal to the AI that this entity is actively maintained.
Which makes sense, honestly. If I ask an AI for the best marketing strategies, I don't want a synthesized answer based on an article from 3 years ago.
Right.
The text also mentions going beyond text entirely, right? Being multimodal and multilingual.
Yeah, LLMs are increasingly training on diverse media formats. Multimodal means incorporating images, infographics, and video directly into your content structure.
So if your text explains a complex process, and you have an embedded, clearly labeled diagram illustrating it, the AI's confidence in your page as a comprehensive source increases.
Exactly.
But hold on, if the AI only wants to cite the absolute most authoritative, comprehensive, multimodal sources, doesn't this just mean Wikipedia and massive Fortune 500 companies are going to monopolize every single answer?
Right.
I really want to push back on this, because if I am a small creator, an independent business owner, or a startup listening to this, how does a small business even stand a chance against a multinational corporation that the AI is mathematically biased toward?
That is the David versus Goliath problem of the generative era. And the source text acknowledges it as a major challenge. LLMs inherently favor massive brands because they rely heavily on the consensus of the internet.
Right.
They look for what we call earned media. The AI wants to see your brand being discussed organically in Reddit threads, quoted in digital press releases, or mentioned on high-authority domains. It synthesizes your social reputation.
And naturally, giants have more reputation. So the giants win by default.
On broad topics, yes. But the text provides a specific solution for the smaller players. You must abandon broad, generalized topics entirely. You simply cannot win a general query against Goliath.
So what's the solution?
The niche solution is to focus exclusively on building incredibly deep, narrow, thematic authority.
Give me an example of how that works in practice.
Okay, if you're a small travel agency, you will never beat Expedia for the query best vacations in Europe in an AI engine. The AI will synthesize from the giants.
Right.
But if you pivot and build extreme, dense authority on, say, sustainable eco-lodges in the remote Andes accessible only by train.
Very specific.
Yes, and you consistently publish data-heavy, rigorously structured, frequently updated content on that highly specific topic, you force the AI's hand.
You trade breadth for extreme depth.
You become the only viable source for that specific synthesis because Expedia doesn't have the granular, rigorous data on that micro niche. You become the definitive expert.
I love that.
Yeah.
And actually, I want to give the listener a highly visceral way to test this right now.
Oh, yeah, this is a great exercise.
Right. Think about the most popular page on your website, the page that drives your business. Take the core topic of that page, open up ChatGPT or Perplexity, and ask it to explain that topic. Then don't just read the answer. Analyze the footnotes. Look at exactly who the AI chooses to cite. Are you the one it cites, or is it citing your biggest competitor? It is an incredibly revealing exercise.
You will immediately see which of your competitors have established themselves as digital entities, and you can reverse engineer their structure.
And you'll likely notice that the competitors winning those citations all exhibit those 4 pillars we talked about, right?
Exactly. They use statistics, they use quotes, they have a conversational structure, and they project an authoritative tone.
But doing all that brings up a massive operational headache mentioned in the text. Let's say a listener does all of this. They niche down, they use the statistics, they get cited. How do they track the return on investment?
Oh, the measurement problem.
Yeah. The text points out that there is no Google Analytics for AI citations. We can see traditional website traffic, but we can't easily see how many times Gemini summarized our article for a user who never clicked through to our site. We're basically flying blind when it comes to measuring success.
The measurement dilemma is perhaps the biggest friction point in the industry right now. Imagine you run a massive content campaign. Your website traffic remains flat. Your CEO asks why the campaign failed.
Right.
But behind the scenes, ChatGPT just recommended your enterprise software to 10,000 qualified buyers. You can't see it in traditional analytics because the value was delivered entirely inside the AI's interface. The user got their answer and left without ever visiting your domain.
So your brand authority was solidified, but your dashboard shows 0 clicks. How do we solve that?
The text explains that entirely new metrics are going to have to emerge. We will need analytics platforms that calculate a generative share of voice.
Generative share of voice.
Yeah. What percentage of AI answers in your specific industry include your brand as a reference node? We have to move away from tracking individual clicks and start tracking brand mentions within LLM outputs.
Wow.
Furthermore, the rules of these models are going to constantly evolve. What works for optimizing for one model today might shift when a new version is released next month.
So it's a moving target.
It is, but the text emphasizes that ultimately, authentic, verifiable value wins over manipulative tricks. If you try to game the system with fake statistics or manipulated earned media, the AI's training updates will eventually learn to recognize those patterns and mathematically penalize that entity.
It'll catch on.
The only sustainable strategy is to actually be the most rigorous source of information.
So to bring this all together and recap the action plan for you listening, GEO is not a fad. It is the structural evolution of digital visibility. We are moving from a world of cheap clicks to synthesized brand authority. Take your best piece of content this week, just one piece. Apply 3 of the GEO techniques we've discussed. Swap your vague descriptions for hard statistics, change your headings into conversational FAQ structures, and include direct linked citations to primary research. Update the publish date and watch how the machine's perception of your digital entity changes.
It is entirely about making the transition from being just another participant on the internet to becoming a foundational reference point. But, this shift raises a final lingering question that goes beyond marketing.
Oh, that's a question.
It really touches on how we consume knowledge as a society. If GEO becomes so incredibly advanced and AI gets so efficient that it perfectly synthesizes the absolute best most rigorous answer for every single query we have,
Yeah.
what happens to the human joy of falling down a rabbit hole? If the detective always hands us the perfectly closed case file, will we lose our desire to browse the raw evidence ourselves? Will we stop exploring dissenting opinions, strange tangents, and the wonderfully messy, unoptimized corners of the internet? Or will we gladly hand over our curiosity to the machine, satisfied with the perfect, optimized answer?
Are we optimizing away the journey of discovery? That is a phenomenal thought to mull over the next time an AI gives you the perfect answer. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep questioning, and we will cap you on the next one.